time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us at this special afternoon time. We got Kyle Heimbigner. I'll say it right. Heimbigner. How many times do people mess up your name?
Almost every time.
Yeah, Kyle Heimbigner. Josh ISD, he is the director of their communications and social media outreach and things of that nature. I am sure, though, you didn't you tell me right before the show that most of the schools in Joshua are shut down for this hour to watch this very podcast?
Definitely not.
No, no,
They're
no,
not
no, no.
watching me, no.
No, it's not you. It's me. You kidding? So how's it going, Josh? You doing all right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wake up over there, right? You know, you need some more coffee at this afternoon. Anyway, I'm going to read. Well, I'll wait till after do the sponsors. Then I'll read the bio that he sent us. So we'll get through the sponsors real quick. Thank you to Autos at Our Place for all the good stuff that they do. It's a great place. Restaurants. You've been there, I bet, more than once. I mean, who hasn't been to Our Place? You know, when I tell people who sponsors the show and I mention them, everybody knows my sponsors, but they particularly know Autos places. Our Place, you know, and of course, we have one about 2 blocks from here now. They need one in Joshua, don't they?
I would say so. I frequent the Mansfield site often.
Do you live in Mansfield?
Grand Prairie, technically.
Wow, that's a long drive for you.
It's not too bad.
Not too bad? Okay, all right. So you go to his brother's joint. That's his brother's
Benji's,
joint.
yes.
Yeah, okay, good. And then Gina's Pizza, always great pizza. I think it was Tuesday. Tonight is going to be bingo night, so there's going to be a swinging crowd there, no doubt. And then tomorrow night's karaoke. Sunday night they have live music. But every night it's good beer. And they have the ball games on, so you want to watch the Rangers get shut out again. You're there, it's right there on the television. That's a disgrace. 3 hits, 0 runs against Tampa Bay. I mean, come on.
I'm from the north. Yeah. I'm a Mariners fan. So
Sorry. Mariners, yes. Well, it could be worse. If you were an Astros fan, that'd be even worse. That's our team that we kind of grit our teeth. When I was in high school, the team that we really despised were the White Sox. I don't know why. We just seemed to have a problem with them. Anyway, back to the sponsors since they're paying for this chicanery here. Also, my friend John Williams over at Old Pro Roofing at 817-734-2756. One of the most disappointed people in the area when he didn't have the big storms that everybody forecasts. You know, in the Old Testament, when prophets were found to be wrong, they would take them out and stone them. We had to do that to weather forecasters, you think? Or is that a little harsh?
Probably a little harsh.
It's just you're too soft-hearted. Anyway, OPRO Roofing, 817-734-2756. They go all over the DFW area. I know they work in Joshua. And so they're here in town, and here in Burleson, right in the middle of Old Town, which, you know, you're going to get a lot of guys knocking on the door. Right after the last storm, which really, I didn't get hardly any rain at all. I got 3 phone calls from, hey, let's come out for a free inspection from people I never heard of before. I want to deal with people I know. So there you go. Also, my friend Jeff Kelly, he's going to be on, June 4th. He was on yesterday with my BNI crew. We'll talk about that big event at the end. But here at 817-781-0546 or Jeff at jeffkellyrealty.com. Knows all about realty, knows what's going on. Sales in Joshua, he says that's a growing area still. You know, that Mountain Valley is a very nice place. It's too bad it's Joshua ISD Burleson city limits, right?
It is.
Y'all poached us, man. That's just wrong. You know, when I moved here many, many years ago, I thought it was weird that so much, how far west Burleson went. You know, I thought it ended pretty much at, I don't know, past the, what now is HEB and all that area and all that, and the Kroger store. I thought that was the end, but oh no, it keeps going. So 817-781-0546. He's with the Wethington Agency here in town, another local guy you want to deal with. Also, my friend Rod Lewis at Burleson News Express. We're trying to get a print newspaper going. It's always a good thing. He needs stories. He needs advertisers. And you can pick up this newspaper for free right now at about 40 different locations. I pick him up at Daydream Coffee, but he also gets it at some of the city buildings. It's also in a lot of the salons. It's in a lot of the... the car repair places and all that. It's the auto shop. So local news for Burleson. So it's a good thing. And lastly, here, True Climate with Will Cobb and his sister Emily, 682-244-2019 for $99. They will get you in the plan. They will give you big discounts on inspections and whatever else. Come have them check out your air conditioner because bad time to find out it's not in good shape is June. You know, when it's hotter than heck. Of course, being from Washington State, how hot did it get up there?
I mean, mid 90s, but no humidity. So
yes.
it's a little bit different down here.
Yeah, and when you were down at A&M, I bet you were dying.
Yes, very much so.
All right. And, True Climate and Jeff Kelly and John Williams all have something in common. That's a BNI. And we are having a big mixer tomorrow, 8:45 to 10:15 at Old South. And we'd like, if you want to know about BNI, you want to join a networking group that is committed to making sure that you get your money's worth, so to speak, you're going to get results, check out BNI, and we'll spring for breakfast, whatever. It's all good. So BTX, Business Connect BNI, and there's some really good people in it. And I've been part of it about 4+ years now, and it's been great for me. It's how I got a lot of my business here as sponsors. So check it out tomorrow morning, 8:45 to 10:15. Okay, I want to read your bio that you sent us here. So this is verbatim. Kyle Heimbigner, who has single-handedly saved Joshua ISD from destruction and irrelevance. Wow, that's a big opinion. Beginning in high school, it has a long history in communications. Beginning in high school, when he wrote for the school newspaper and participated in yearbook. So you're one of those.
Yes. I also was in sports and FFA and all the things.
All the things.
All the things.
What sport do you play?
Football and baseball.
Baseball's good. Football is never it's never big enough, so there you go. Anyway, he received his degree in public relations from Washington State, go Cougars, and has worked in the communications field ever since. First in the collegiate athletics at WSU and then at Texas A&M University, where you're in a master's degree in sport management. Are you a diehard Aggie? Oh, boy.
Yeah, I drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, well, we'll forgive you. Anyway, there's a lot of Aggies in this town. You'll find that out. Are you one of those guys every time A&M's mentioned you whoop out in public or whatever?
I haven't gotten there yet, but
you're going
my in-laws, they give me a hard time about that because they are.
Do you married an Aggie girl?
Yes.
Okay,
yep.
That's good. You meet her at A&M?
Yes, sir.
Oh, right. It worked out. And married a Texas girl. Good to go. All right. After Texas A&M, he worked at his fraternity's executive office, which you said was Sigma Pi.
Sigma Pi up in Nashville.
And I'm sure they're all scholars and gentlemen.
100%.
Yeah. Well, I was in a frat, and a lot of the guys in my frat turned out to be doctors and lawyers and bankers, and one's a judge in East Texas, and so that stereotype that movie Animal House, which was great, didn't exist. Not at least for us. Not at Holy Baylor, of course. Anyway, at the beginning of the pandemic, he transitioned to K through 12 education. First working in Greenville ISD. I'll bet that was a treat. Greenville's a tough town.
It is, but it was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good kids there.
Well, yeah.
So
the kids are okay, but it is a tough town. When I went to school in Plano, and Greenville was one of our football rivals. And so when we go up there to play ball, we did not get the most hospitable welcome, that's for sure. First working in Greenville, now Joshua ISD, where he's been since February 2023. Just been one big smooth ride since then, right?
I would say so for the most part. Yes.
Yeah, it has. When I moved here, or started teaching here in '88, and I moved here in '91, Joshua was a country town. I mean, it didn't have anything going on. It didn't have any kind of business presence. It had a few restaurants and a couple retail stores and whatever else, a couple gas stations, but it really was just a farm community, basically. Now it's considerably different, wouldn't you say? It's much more suburban. Most of the people in Joshua probably work somewhere in the DFW area. The school has grown significantly in size and in quality. And I can say that because, we used to think of Joshua as, well, it's a nice little town. But now, by every objective measure, they've made tremendous strides in the last decade and a half. Why do you think that is?
I think it still has that small town feel.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody who grew up in a farm town up in Washington State, actually Joshua has more high school students than my hometown.
Good heavens.
So I definitely know that small town feel. They still have that small town feel. Everybody wants to give back to the community and the schools. So I think that just sets a good foundation for all the good things going on there in the city and at the schools. That everybody wants to contribute, and it's what's that saying about all boats rise when the tide rises.
Right,
so
right.
I think that's kind of how Joshua sees themselves.
Well, they also, I know it also helped, money always helps. And they were well positioned about 20 years ago when the Barnett Shale became a factor in oil fracking. That area, Joshua and Johnson County, became one of the first communities to really benefit from that. And so they got an influx of money. All the districts did, but I think Joshua was the first. And then, through the usual finagling down in Austin, they kind of froze per student expenditures and things like that. And so, when the rest of the county kind of caught up on that shale benefit, y'all were already ahead. And that helps. I mean, everybody can talk about money all they want, and it's not a guarantee of a great education, because I read an article just last week that New York City spends $40,000 per student, and their results don't speak for it. And Washington, D.C. is the worst district in the country, and they spend like number 3 on that list per student. So money doesn't solve every problem, but it sure solves some, right? So that was part of it. I think a lot of it also is that people started moving to this area, Burleson and Joshua, because they got tired of what was going on in the bigger cities or some of the larger suburbs. And that would also include the schools. Lesser quality, laxer discipline. And I think a lot of people said, no, I want to send my kids to school in a place where they're not having to worry about going to the bathroom or walking the halls or what's going to happen in the cafeteria, that kind of thing. And so Joshua had and still does, has a reputation of really keeping that under control. And not all schools do that.
We're very proud of our educational standards first and foremost. Everything we do is top quality and down from the students to the teachers, the administration at campus level and district administration. We're all solely focused on that excellence aspect of the education that's received by the students. Parents are very involved and active on the campus level, whether it's sports, academics, any other extracurriculars. We have so many there. It is a partnership, I would say.
Well, definitely in the sports, y'all picked it up, because back in the years I taught at Burleson, y'all were always our homecoming opponent. And believe me, we knew how that felt. We were also everybody else's homecoming opponent for a few years. But Joshua, was known for being hopefully a W on the schedule. But they're a lot better off now. And I think a lot of that has to do with growth and whatnot, and attracting better coaching talent, things of that nature. But the thing that always struck us about Joshua over in Burleson, it just seemed like, of course, every school district seems like, well, they got it going on over there, and we're in a mess over here. What are they doing? I'm sure other teachers in other districts are saying that about Burleson, whatever. But Joshua seemed to have it put together about, proper discipline in the schools, proper academic expectations, and expectations of the parents to pay attention to what's going on with their students, which is a big deal. And that's not a lot of districts have that. And the idea that, we're going to prepare you for college or whatever else, whatever the field you're going to go into. Now, Burleson, ISD, where I am, I know that we do a lot of great things. My complaint, if you will, about Burleson is they don't promote them nearly as well as Joshua does. And we're going to get into that conversation pretty soon about why a district needs to promote itself, because it's no longer, well, you live inside these lines, therefore you go to the school and there's not much you can do about it. It's a lot different era now. But so there you are. Do they have vouchers and open enrollment in Washington State? I would doubt they do.
I don't really know. I don't know about vouchers or open enrollment. That was never really on my mind when I was up there as a student.
Yeah, well, none of the students think about that. It's always the parents,
I was going to say, I know they've discussed it from talking with my parents and just kind of what's happening here in Texas versus up there. But where I'm from, it really wouldn't have mattered too much. I mean, the next closest school district over is an hour away.
Yeah.
Type of thing. So really wouldn't hit too hard up there besides the Seattle area, west side of the state.
Right. Well, of course, Washington State, as like many other states, it's dominated by its urban areas on the coast and all that. But that used to be a thing. People say, well, vouchers aren't going to. Who's going to? You live out in Sweetwater, I guess, out in West Texas. Where are you going to go? The next district of size is 45 minutes away. Now it's not just competing schools; you're also competing with homeschooling, and that has changed the calculus quite a bit. And I guess we should just launch into that. The reason that I think it's important for schools to school districts to promote themselves is that they're no longer the only game in town, and they can't act like it. They're competing against not just their neighbors now, but with these vouchers, other private schools. And I know in Burleson, I don't know about Josh, but I know in Burleson, homeschooling is a pretty prominent thing. And so what besides, I know you do your social media outreach and whatever, what things does Joshua ISD do to publicly promote themselves as a school, a destination school, so to speak? What do y'all do?
Well, I do want to say thank you for being so kind, having those kind words about what we do to promote ourselves. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things to do. That's why I do what I do, is to tell those student stories and those staff stories. Because I didn't get that type of thing where I grew up. It was just the community. Didn't have too many outside stories. So that's something I really enjoy doing, and it's not work at all when I tell some kiddo's story.
It's easy to be a salesman when you have a good product to sell.
That definitely does help. All our district, or all our campuses keep me busy. I'm always running around to and fro with a camera, taking photos and video of all the good things, and that is what we want to show. We want to show that our kids are doing awesome, amazing things, whether it's just those day-to-day classroom academics, or we just recently, our robotics team went to the world competition up in St. Louis.
Really? How about that?
Mr. King has done fantastic with that program in the last 6-7 years. Sorry to get that 6-7 reference in there. It's kind of stuck in my head.
Well, I never understood that thing, but that's fine.
There's just so many things going on. And I will say to all Joshua ISD staff members who are listening, I don't purposely mean to leave anybody out. Y'all do so much. Like, it's hard to keep track of everything and tell everybody's story. But that just showing that on a daily basis, letting people know as much as possible what is happening in the classroom, on the field, at that extracurricular activity, it's important. It just shows the good things happening.
Well, those stories need to be told because, the high profile things like athletics or graduation, valedictorian, et cetera, they get their own publicity, so to speak. But, people need to know, particularly if they're supporting the public schools, not just with their tax money, but in, whatever other ways, they need to know they're getting return on investment, so to speak. And it's nice to know these stories about some young person that's really found special talent and is going to do something with it. Or you're going to find out a story maybe of overcoming hardships, somebody who had some difficulties in life, and now Joshua ISD has helped put them on a straighter path and, give them some real opportunities in the future, and that kind of thing. Those are the kind of stories I would want to hear about, because, the football team does this and et cetera, but it's those untold stories that really need to be more publicized. And I think that's a good thing.
There are such a wide range of the types of stories that Joshua ISD students write and tell for everybody. It is really interesting, and one of our things that we do is our Outstanding Owl video. We do a staff member and a student every month, and I do look over those nominations, and I see the names, and I do see the names of those students that are involved in sports and other activities that do get some accolades already. But I also see the names of students that I'm like, I don't know that student, but this teacher spent probably 10-15 minutes writing down 4 paragraphs about this one student. Maybe that's somebody we need to recognize and shout out. So that's one of those fun things I get to do on a monthly basis, is go through those and see those stories of kids that may not get their story told.
Where is this material put out to the public?
So that specifically Outstanding Owls, that goes on the website and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as our YouTube channel.
You have a YouTube channel.
We do, yes.
Okay.
That's mainly a lot of the Outstanding Owl videos. We live stream our board meetings there.
I bet that's a fun thing. I've heard about some of your board meetings.
It's definitely. I've heard stories too myself.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been the last year, but I do know a couple, particularly when the bond issues were being discussed. And some elections. I've had some of your board members here on the show, and I'd like to do it again, in the fall, because I'm sure everybody's gonna be busy this summer doing nothing. But they don't want to think about school. I can tell you right now, most of you teachers, when that last bell rings, there's gonna be some serious tears in the hallway. Thank God I survived. May is a stressful time.
It is. It is. It's a sprint to the finish. Those last few weeks and this week and next week.
Y'all just finished probably the AP exams, and I know as an AP teacher that was very stressful. And didn't get. When is the last day of school for Joshua?
Next Thursday.
In 2 days or a week from?
A week from Thursday.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's coming right up, and you have the graduation ceremonies and all this other business, and that's a big deal for a lot of people.
It really is. Yeah. Next week is chock full of events at the high school level, and elementary kids are itching to get on their summer break as well. So
back to your presence, I suppose, on public media and others. So you have like all these various channels, and you're probably the guy in charge of making sure the Instagram is up to date and Twitter and all that. Do you respond to some of the comments?
Yes, we mostly get our comments on Facebook, and I would say Facebook, Joshua ISD on Facebook is the main source of a lot of that information that I do post out. And I'll respond to some comments. I'll also refer people to the places where to get the info as well, because I know a little bit about a lot of things, but not a lot about too many other things. So
I get it.
I definitely. If I can answer the question, I'll do so, obviously. But there will be times I'm like, hey, you need to reach out to this department, this person.
Are you like the first line if somebody has an issue or a beef with the district?
If it comes through social media, yes, I'll make people aware. A lot of times they'll reach out to campuses.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. In my days, the parents really weren't much of a problem. I mean, the biggest, I don't know if you want to call it a problem, but when I got them as, 17-year-olds, juniors and seniors, and I call their mom and dad and say, hey, little junior here needs to straighten up. They go, well, if you find the way to do it, let me know, because they're at that point, they were kind of, past the point of whipping them. But as far as, complaints and such as that, a couple times, but I was there like 28 years. So it really wasn't a common thing at all. And, but as far as the districts, I know the district itself was subject to a lot of things that could be, Michelle Kay, loving the game guard, Mr. Allard. Josh, is game guard something? I don't know.
I have no idea.
All right. She'll explain it to me. Anyway, I just know that people, who don't really pay a lot of attention to the district often have opinions about the district. And sometimes, we need to set those opinions, give them the proper information. Is that your job too?
In some cases, yes. People will always have those questions and want to talk about some of those things. And there are a lot of times we definitely try to educate those people about those things. There's a lot that goes into public school districts. I've learned so much in my 5 years in K-12 education.
Were you in the classroom for a while?
I was not. I've never taught. The closest thing I would say to that was I was a TA when I was at Texas A&M for an online class.
That's not the same thing.
Yes, yeah. I definitely recognize that I don't have any teaching experience. A lot of people ask me what I do in my job, and
I know what game guard is now. She's referring to my shirt, my camo shirt. Okay, Michelle, I got you. Why is that?
It looks like a hunting apparel, apparently.
Yeah, well,
I can see it.
Okay, now I get it. Now I'm getting it, Michelle. I'm getting there. But I've been to some board meetings. It could be pretty contentious and whatnot, and most of the people I dealt with on the school boards, and I've dealt with them for years. Most of them meant well. I mean, there's one or two, maybe, if I want to sit down and think about, well, yeah, there's that person back in 1998 that was kind of a knucklehead. But, why do that, right? Most of the people, including our current board, mean well. Your board means well. They just don't always come to the decision I would have come to, I would have preferred. But that doesn't mean there's some nefarious problem or some sort of, incompetence involved. They had their options. They chose A. I wish they chose B. And most of the time now I move on. Some people don't move on, and you have to deal with all of that. I don't know why anybody would want to be on the school board, to be honest, because they're asked to solve problems that they may not have the ability to solve.
It is a big job, and they're volunteers, and they're putting in time outside of their normal everyday lives.
Plus, the state of Texas makes the job extremely difficult. I mean, I could talk to your superintendent, which I'd like to see again on the show in the fall. I'm sure right now he's fairly busy, I'd imagine. But before I get into a topic that does concern me more, just briefly, what is Joshua ISD going to be doing over the summer? Do they have like certain programs that go in the summer, like reading programs for kids or anything like that?
So the high school library, the public library there at the high school, they do a reading program. Actually, I just posted something on Facebook last week about that for elementary age kids. Each week they come together and have a series of activities there at the library and that type of thing. There's summer camps, both athletic, cheer, and theater. Those range from K to ninth grade. Those are on our website under the parents drop down for summer camps. Let's see.
I know band has always started early. Gosh, people, they talk about coaches and they're right about how much time they put into their job, but band directors need to be in that conversation too, because they start even earlier than coaches.
100%. They're probably going to their camps. Our NJROTC program goes to a summer leadership program. I was going to say, if you drive by the high school in the summer, you'd be thinking, oh, that's going to be a ghost town. Nope. Things are happening all the time there.
Well, when Burleson had one high school, it was like that. It was busy. You go in, as a teacher, I go in like in early July or something for whatever purpose, and there'd still be stuff going on. But, summer school and all that other business, but now it's kind of spread out a bit. Y'all do summer school remediation?
Yes, I don't know too much about those details, but that does, I believe, happen at our ninth grade campus for the entire district. And I believe it starts in June and runs through mid-July. I don't want to.
Well, that's about par, because I taught summer school for BISD for 7 or 8 years. And then my wife, when she was working at Centennial, she was head of their summer remediation program and that kind of thing. So I'd be over there helping her and getting paid, but, she was the boss, as always. So it was a good deal. But I just didn't know if they had that kind of academic remediation that goes on. It was mostly kids. It wasn't always kids trying to catch up. It was also kids trying to get ahead. They were trying to knock out a senior English or a government class or whatever else, so they could open up their schedule more in their senior year. But as far as summer, there was stuff going on. And maybe people say, "Oh, so teachers, you get the summer off and all this." Not really. I mean, I worked less hours, but I probably worked during summer school about 25 hours a week or whatever. If you want to, and then of course I was obligated to go training, advanced placement training, in TCU every summer. And teachers would go to these other seminars. The best seminars, well, AP seminars are pretty good, but the one I really enjoyed was the Federal Reserve. As an economics teacher, they would bring in economic teachers in, and man, they had the best kitchen. They had their lunches and breakfasts like people were bringing Tupperware, because that was really, it was good dining there. So anyway, I'm getting off track, but here's something that is serious. Last week, I found out that Burleson has on their staff somebody whose job is to promote the school and try to recruit students to the district. Is that something that y'all would find concerning, or is it just the way the world works these days?
It's probably just how things are at this moment in time. I know you're kind of looped into a lot of public school district things going on in the state, so you kind of know the general landscape of things. And while I wouldn't say it's concerning, I think that's going to be a bit of a new normal with vouchers and homeschooling and those types of things. I could see how districts might be a little bit worried about those and their enrollments. I don't think we're to that point yet. We are, I would say we're very, we know our programs are strong.
Yes.
We understand that. We are going to continue to make sure our programs are strong. We're going to look for opportunities to grow those programs or add to what we already provide. And I don't think recruiting is something in our minds at this moment.
Well, Joshua probably isn't not really in a position to need to recruit because your school's overcrowded, right?
We do have a couple campuses that are at capacity. Yes.
So even if they went out and you had a really concentrated effort to try to bring in more students, where would you put them and that kind of thing?
That's a good point.
I have several concerns about it, though. I really do. I don't know all the rules. I don't know the regulations, whatnot. Burleson is an open district. Alvarado, Cleburne, the ones I know of. I don't know about Crowley. But my concern is that it's going to create a very antagonistic relationships between districts that need to be cooperative with each other. Because every kid that leaves, Alvarado ISD and goes to Burleson ISD, that's about $6,800, right? And so, some of these smaller districts are going to really be hurting if we have bigger districts recruiting, and because smaller districts may offer good atmosphere and whatever else, but they may not be able to offer all the AP courses, for example, or the computer related courses or whatnot. And I just be afraid that some of the smaller districts are going to be impacted. Now, that being said, I understand, the public's view of this may be different because I've heard stories not just about Burleson or any other school district, but the school district acting like they're the only game in town, so you better just take our decision and live with it. And people didn't really have an opportunity to say, well, I'm not satisfied with this product, but I don't have any other place to shop, because that was the district. And, you can move, or you could do some other family disruptive thing, like send your kid to, live with an uncle somewhere else. But, I know a lot of people resented the fact that they were dealing with basically a monopoly. So I get it, all right? My concern is though we're going to, at the expense of our neighbors, some of the districts are going to be prospering a little bit more, or maybe, growing at their expense. Now, Joshua's not an open enrollment, is it?
So we did kind of open up a little bit this summer for this coming school year. We call it a limited open enrollment because obviously we do only have so many spaces available. So we are not just full open door, I would say. We are just open enough, and if you can go through the process, it's an application.
Yeah,
it's
right.
not just you get in.
Well, I don't know. I'm sure Burleson has their procedures as well. I doubt just one day kid shows up and there he is. I'm sure there's some paperwork and some other process, and I don't know if there's any kind of screening process. So if some kid who's a big troublemaker at XYZ high school, do we have the ability to say, no, thank you, we don't want your business? Because then you'll start getting into civil rights issues, or accusations of racism or classism, or you fill in the blankism, right? So I don't know if they want to deal with that, but I just have concerns about this. Again, I understand the mentality. I know what's happened because I've had a couple of state lawmakers tell me this, is that they get complaints from their constituents about schools being difficult about this and not really being responsive or not providing a better education, and they have nowhere else to go. And so I think that has permeated their thinking about certain things. But on the other hand, the reason why I didn't like vouchers as a whole is because I don't think the people that the state of Texas says will profit by this are really going to profit by this. Who's going to profit by it will be the private schools. Because if I get $10,000 more, my private school will be less reluctant to raise tuition, and therefore they're the ones getting at least a piece of that $10,000. And people will say, well, competitive pressures will keep the prices down. That doesn't, no. If, XYZ private school raises theirs $3,000, well, this one over here said, well, we could still be competitive and raise ours $2,500 or $2,800. It's like, it's like gas stations. When QT raises their price, everybody else does. And so, that's my concern is the money's going to go to areas in which I don't know if, at least publicly, they say they're intended for the families. But I think it's going to be the schools that get it. And I don't know. I just have a problem with that a little bit. As far as the open enrollment idea, that's why I get so torn about this, because I understand that, if I'm very unhappy with my school, I shouldn't have to disrupt my entire family and send my kid to go live with my brother or something like that, just so I get him a better chance. But on the other hand, like I mentioned before, the competition among students might get ugly.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a different type of landscape nowadays, with the vouchers going into place, and then homeschooling becoming a bigger thing.
Yeah, it's very big in Burleson. Is it big in Joshua?
I'm not exactly sure the extent to it. I know there is some. I know sometimes I do see on social media people are pointing down to Cleburne or up to Burleson from Joshua. So I don't know if that means Joshua doesn't have too much going on. It's not something I really keep track of too much. I know when it comes to communications and marketing, public relations, one of the biggest things, especially in the corporate world, is you're supposed to keep track of your competitors,
right.
And see what they're doing, and does their message align with what they're actually doing? How does it interact with what you're trying to do? I think from a Joshua ISD standpoint is we're going to do what we're going to do. We have our mindset of making everything the best as possible, and we will. If somebody wants to have a decision or make a choice, we want to make that kind of difficult on them. If like we want to have the best possible.
When you say difficult,
programs.
you don't mean like bureaucratic obstacles. You're talking about like making it a hard choice because they're choosing between two quality choices.
Yes, exactly. That is definitely what I meant. Yes.
Yeah, because when you say make it difficult, people think of schools. They think, what are you talking about? You're going to put some sort of, bureaucratic business in front. No. That's not what you're talking about at all. But as far as homeschooling, this happens to me quite often, actually. I have former students, and I'll run into them at the store or church, whatever, say, hey, how are your kids? Where are they going to school? Oh, we homeschool, Mr. Allard. And they're almost embarrassed to tell me that because they don't want to hurt my feelings. And I'm like, don't worry about it. You're doing the best things for your kids. That's the only thing you need to consider. And plus, my opinion about homeschooling has changed quite a bit. In the 90s, homeschooling was something that done either because you had health issues or because you had discipline issues at the school. And they just, give you the boot. And it was not good. It was, and then online, even the early online stuff was not good. But now it's pretty substantial. And from what I was told, and I've read this several places, COVID really changed people's attitude about homeschooling in particular, because we did everything online, and some of the people said, wait a minute, is this what you're doing with your time during the day? Is this kind of, trivial stuff, And they also saw their kids didn't seem to be suffering from being at home, learning through that process. And so they gave them another, give them ideas that maybe homeschooling might work. And my question to some of these homeschoolers was, what are you going to do about those subjects that you can't help them with? Like if I couldn't help my kids in advanced math, I barely got through it. Geometry is the only math subject I was decent at. And, after Algebra 2, I'd be out. But what they understand now, they have these co-ops, and they meet either Grace Prep in Arlington, or they meet in a church, or they meet some other location, and they have a teacher, retired teacher like me, doing it. I've been offered to do that before, and I'm just like, I'm done. My fastball's gone. I just don't have the juice I had to teach teenagers. But as far as that's the new world and reality of public schools.
I definitely think, COVID did show people that online learning can work for some kids. I wouldn't say every kid can do it, but I think there are opportunities for some kids to do that. And ever since, all of those online programs are getting better and better, and that's something I think public schools do need to kind of take note a little bit about. Is if others are raising the bar, we should as well.
Well, there's other reasons why parents homeschool. A lot of it has to do with spiritual factors. You know, they want to raise their kids in the faith, and I get that. And I'd rather they choose that option than trying to mandate that Joshua or ISD or any other ISD try to teach their faith, kind of thing. You know, that's not the role of a school. So you know, when my children were small, I sent them to Holy Cross, not because the elementary schools in Burleson were terrible. They're, in fact, one of the best aspects of our district is the elementary levels. It was because I wanted them to grow up in a faith-based environment and that kind of thing. And so I get it, you know, that's fine. But as far as like having the schools be responsible for bringing that faith-based element into the district, I got real problems. You know, of course, was it the joking we're around here about Ken Paxton trying to push the 9 commandments on everybody? We don't pay attention to number 6. You're not saying anything.
I am not.
I'll say the political stuff. Yeah. So, but but you don't really deal with that anyway, do you? That kind of stuff. You know, the political aspect of it.
Not too much, really.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to bonds, people kind of get into that, but
well, that's different. I'm talking about like what's going on down in Austin.
The biggest thing I had to deal with or do when it came to all of that, especially at the start of this past school year, was send out all the notifications about all the new things going into effect and letting people know about that. Whether there's some rights about health services provided by our nurses on campuses. There's a notification about the referees at athletic events can automatically eject a fan without prior notice or warning.
Good. That's good.
There's a couple other things that I had to put out that revolved around the 89th legislative session, and that's about my extent of the political nature of all of that.
Well, I think more fans need to be like my dad was when I was playing Little League. You know, pitchers throws one over my head. It's called a strike, and it's say later, that was a ball. And Dad would go, well, apparently not. So, so you didn't have much time for, getting involved like, one of these tiger parents or whatever they call them these days. But as far as, the state of Texas, that's a topic for another show, certainly. I don't want to drag people into that conversation, but I have concerns about it quite a bit because they're expecting the schools to fill a role that really families should fill. And they're also expecting schools to fill more than just an academic role, And I'm old enough to remember, I've been in the system long enough to remember, this isn't the first time. I remember a real political controversy in the 90s was a governor at that time, Ann Richards, wanted to turn our school clinics, our little nurses stations into full-on clinics, for the public to use. And they'd be open past school hours and stuff like that. And not only would they provide more health-based services, they'd also provide contraceptives and things like that. And so, boy, that got people really worked up. And I don't think that's going to happen with this legislature, but this is about 30-something years ago. It was a big controversial issue. So they've always seen schools as like, well, we got this facility and we got this going on and all this other stuff. We ought to use it for other things other than just education. And, so sometimes those ideas are pretty poor. I've heard of some districts they want to consolidate schools and use those empty buildings for like homeless shelters. Well, I'd be very upset if my neighborhood school became a homeless shelter. Y'all's probably just the opposite. Y'all need more schools, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. A couple of our elementary campuses are at capacity. We're in the process of building a new one from the 2024 May bond.
Well, I bet North Joshua is one of those overcrowded schools, right?
It is right there at capacity. We are, there have been, I don't know how many students, but some students have been bused to Plum Creek Elementary from North Joshua because there's just no seats for those kids.
How did that go? I wonder, with some parents knowing their kids are going to be bused across town. I bet they had some comment.
Yes, yes, they did, and that's fair.
That's fair, is right. Yeah,
and we knew that was going to be the case, and so we tried to provide more than a heads up that was going to potentially happen and do happen. So those kids are going from our currently northernmost elementary to our southernmost. It's not a perfect thing, but it's unfortunately what we have to do.
Are y'all like Burleson? They have schools of choice in the elementary level. You can put your kid, if they're spaced, at the school that's not in your zone, so to speak. Y'all have that going on?
Not at this time. We try to keep kids in their zones.
No, that's a pretty good solution, but there's also been a lot of hair pulling because somebody move in and there's a school like 2 blocks down the road. Well, I'm sorry, it's over capacity. You're going to take one of these other schools, and I've heard that complaints before. And it's, I've had the person on this show that runs that. I don't know if she still does, but it's a pretty stressful 2-week period when the schools are being picked and assigned.
Mm-hmm. Actually, on this note, our registration and returning student verification is open. So if you haven't done it yet, please do so. We accept those up until the school year, but we always say try to get that done as soon as possible in case a campus needs to reach out.
Well, I remember that every year. We did this in August, the first week of August, and, student verification, make sure you live in the district. And now I really don't know what that process is. But it's interesting. And one thing people don't understand is you don't have to be here with citizenship papers. A lot of people think that, if you have to be a citizen, that's not true. If you live in the district, your kid's going to be going to public schools. And that's not from Joshua or Burleson. That's from the state of Texas. And so, so people don't need to be reluctant, let's say, get that kid in school. And towards the last 3 or 4 years, particularly in the last couple of years, I had students I knew to be here and documented, and they gave me not a lick of trouble, to tell you the truth. And these kids, they were educated in their home state, home countries. So they weren't coming in here totally illiterate or anything like that. Now, they didn't speak English very well, if at all. But y'all probably have a fairly extensive English as second language program now. We all have had to expand that.
We do. Cattle Grove Elementary and Elder Elementary have bilingual and ESL programs on their campuses, and I know quite a few students do utilize those services.
Well, it comes in handy to know a little Spanish if you live in Texas, because when I teach a satellite class for DBU over at Christ for the Nations Institute, which is almost all foreign students, and I get to polish up on my Espanol, and they kind of laugh because very few of them are from Mexico. They're all from South America, which is a different brand of Spanish, right? It's like Australian and American or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, that's, I'm going to run through a couple of nonprofits, and then let's just kind of summarize some of the things that Joshua can do. Maybe like a commercial for Joshua ISD, if you will. Tonight, if you're available over at Proof Liquor Store, they're going to have a Chamber of Commerce event. I always enjoy these. Network at night is fun. It's just a very low-key thing. There'll probably be some sort of finger foods or something like that. And, go and you meet your friends at the chamber. We're a very active chamber, and it's very well run. So go by and, maybe pick up something. I don't know. I know that this time of year, the teachers will be looking for this. I always thought a big fundraiser for high school would be like, open bar in the teacher's lounge. You think that'd work? You tell your superintendent on that idea, see what he thinks.
I was going to say, it might work, but I don't know if we're allowed to do that.
No. Anyway, so be there tonight. Even if you're not a member, it's a good time to see what the chamber's about, and you might become one, which is, very affordable. It's very cheap, and you get a lot of good contacts from it. Also, coming up, big deal, the Honey Tour, coming up May 23rd. That's a week from Saturday. Sync Commercial Construction, who's run by my friend Jeremy Bleeker, will be the main sponsor, and it's going to be a bike ride. You ride bikes by any chance?
I would if I had one. Unfortunately, I don't at the moment.
Yeah, my dad used to do these. He did the Honey Tour. My dad passed away in August, but up until a certain age, he did that one in Wichita Falls, and this one's doubled in size in the last year or so. I mean, it's got the chamber the last 3 or 4 years really put an emphasis on this. And it's really gotten to be like a stop on the tour, and that's exactly what it is. These bikers go from tour to tour like it's some, I make jokes about them being like on a Grateful Dead tour, they just follow them around, but there you are. You're probably too young to know what the Grateful Dead is, but whatever.
I've heard of them.
Josh, you heard of the Grateful Dead?
I have, yeah.
What's your favorite song? Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, and also we have a carnival coming up, and Joshua people are welcome. So there you go. Also, No, back to the golf. June 12th at Hidden Creek. There's going to be a golf tournament for the chamber as well. This is a very busy time of year for fundraisers. I'm sure y'all's groups do the same, but April and May, it's wall to wall. So there you go, June 12th, which is a Friday at Hidden Creek. It's $600 for a team, $150 for an individual. They still got holes you can advertise. You can still put a banner up. It really is nice, and it's one of their biggest fundraisers of the year. And then in the summertime, they kind of ease off a little bit because vacations and whatnot, and they kind of recharge, and then it picks right back up again around October, late September. So there you go. All right, give us a commercial for Joshua ISD. Maybe something you could cut and segment and put it out there and social media and whatnot.
Okay, you're putting me on the spot now.
No, that's fine. I do that all the time here.
Well, I think I've really hit on it several times already in this podcast. Like we in Joshua ISD, we're just trying to make the best things possible for our kids. That's really all we want to do. We want to educate them in the best possible way. Our teachers are fantastic. I'm actually putting together a set of retirement graphics that I will be posting out here soon, and just adding up the years on the 16 retirees we have in the district. It's couple hundred years between them. So
I can tell you that Joshua teachers held on to their jobs a long time because there weren't a lot of openings in Joshua ISD, which tells me a lot.
Yes, and some of these I know, and they're great teachers that we're definitely going to miss. But we have plenty of awesome, amazing teachers that are willing to go above and beyond for our students, and our students are receptive to that, and they do fantastic things. Like I said, I can't single out too many because there's just so many.
Right.
It's really hard to do. And unfortunately, there's so many that sometimes I forget what's happened because I'm already on to the next story of good and great things.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that y'all are doing well. And I tell you, we didn't even get to one of the real benefits is that 4-day week. I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, I think the ISD and others need to consider that for various reasons, but whatever. Personally, do you have any plans this summer? Are you going to go visit people back home and that kind of thing?
Not too many, really. I still do work during the summer, which is good. But it's going to be a lot of more low key, relaxing. My wife works for a different school district, so we're excited about just having.
Y'all compare notes.
We do.
Yeah,
yes.
I know you do. Of course you do.
Well, everybody in school districts kind of talk.
I bet. You going to tell me which school district, or should you rather remain anonymous?
We'll just hold on to that
all right,
for now.
For next show. Okay.
Yes,
all right, fine.
But
all
yeah,
right.
just taking it easy, relaxing, resetting, and looking forward to another.
I thought you might go
year.
back to Washington, where it's going to be a little cooler than it is in Texas in July.
The hope would be to get up there, but I know we've got a couple weddings that we're going to, and those types of things. So,
well, good for you. I got nothing planned this summer. I'm too cheap. Anyway, Josh.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Josh.
Yes.
Doggone you. You got plans this summer? Besides making sure I look good?
I'm going to be here. I'd be traveling with family, but.
That's good. I'm going to see who's on the show next week. I'm pretty sure I do know, but I always mess up. I know Monday I have a new guest, Property Tax Justice Foundation. They're going to be, well, I don't know exactly what they're doing. They're protesting it, or I know they're wanting to abolish it, whatever. I know they have opposition to the current status of property tax. So we'll be discussing that. I don't know. Again, I don't want to put words in their mouth, so I don't know what their views are exactly, but we'll find out real quick, I'm sure. Also, I have the mayor on next Tuesday, and he has some views on property taxes as well, I'm sure, because some of the things that are being considered concern him greatly. And so we'll be talking about that. I got a fairly full May. Let's see what else I'm going to have to put on my glasses. I'm getting so old. All right. Let's see. I also, on Memorial Day, has Sandy Mason on for the American Legion. We'll talk about the parks and wildlife operations he's involved in, plus Memorial Day related things, and also the great and enigmatic Alex Phillips will be on 26. He's our economic development coordinator, and so and he doesn't tell me any secrets at all. Doggone him. All right. Well, thank you for coming. I'll be in touch with you in 2-3 months, probably early August, about when we could do this again. I know I've said this before. of all the things I really struggled to get through in my career was in service in August. I used to hate that, but that's long ago. Anyway, but I'll be back in touch with you in a couple months. I'd like to get superintendent on. It's maybe athletic director. I don't know. Of course, he's probably your football coach as well. Is he?
He is.
He'll
Yes.
be busy. I'm hoping. Well, and others as well. And also the special ed program, because there's a lot of questions about that. So, share this with your friends, family, even if you don't like them. So, thanks very much, and we'll see you next Monday.